familiar faces from earlier webinars. So hello, so great to see you again. I know there will be, oh, I can't share my screen,
Oh,
Elise,
sorry. Yep, got you.
no worries. Um, I know that I have talked about Google Slides a lot, and I would just want to be able to share some of the stuff I've been doing with Google Slides because I know I talk about it a lot. I know it's one of the most wonderful things ever, but I just I want to be able to go through it with you and kind of show you some neat things. And then, so for about 20-25 minutes, we'll go through that. And then I have made a bunch of templates for you to try out. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've done in my classroom and then have you try out some templates and modify it however you want to make it functional for your classroom tomorrow. So that's the goal. And again, I'm Maureen Lamb. Please, after this, feel free to reach out to me at latintech.tools@gmail.com. I do respond to emails. I'm also on Twitter, Latin Tech Tools. And if you need to reference, again, the link to the slide deck, it's tinyurl.com/idioma slides. So first, we're going to start out with a quick top 10 tricks in Google Slides, because Google Slides are awesome, but they are so much more than just presentation tools. There we go. And one of the great things about it is that it is so functional. And I have heard someone call it the Swiss Army knife of the Google Suite. And so here's the top 10 tricks. Number 1, assign slides using @ in the comment function. So I am actually going to get out of full screen for a second so I can show you what this looks like. So let's say I wanted to assign this to someone. I would go to comment, I would press @ and oh, I'm going to assign it to Maureen Lamb. There we go. Now that is Maureen Lamb's slide. Very nice. Or that's Maureen Lamb's part of the slide. And I can choose whether I want that person to comment or edit that. And so that's something that can be very helpful. And then I'll click out of it because I don't need any more. So that's helpful trick number 1. Number 2, if you create a copy for each group or group of students, all you have to do is click on slide, and then depending on what type of computer you have, and pardon me for the Olaf Band-Aid, you can do either Command or Control C and then V, and it'll duplicate. So it's really easy to do copies of slides. Again, Control C or Command C and V. Helpful trick number 3, use shapes instead of text boxes. It shouldn't be books. Nope, we're not using textbooks. There we go. Instead of text boxes for drag and drop. So I'll show you why. That would be interesting though. When you use a text box, it's more likely to get kind of misshapen as you move it around. If you use a shape, it'll usually maintain its shape. So the way you insert a shape is to go insert and then shape. And you have all these cool shapes you can insert. And you can write in it as if it's a text box. So let's say I want to use a cloud. Here's my nice little cloud. Oh, look at that. Then I can add a fun background to it by adding paint. And then I can type in it. Cloud. And so it's like using a text box, but you can move it around more easily and it's not going to lose its shape. So I use shapes all the time, and they have shapes that are just regular squares. So that makes it really helpful. Again, that's insert, go to shape, and then pick whatever shape suits your fancy for this. Next trick, use Google Slides for video or picture collation. If you have to have a bunch of pictures for your students or a bunch of videos for your students, it's really helpful to keep it in a Google slide deck. That way you can have a picture on each slide, or I can show you the funky, cool video function here. So let's say I wanted to insert a video. You can insert audio too. I just didn't go into that for the tips and tricks today. So let's say I want to do a video of, I don't know, I'm feeling John Denver today. Let's do some John Denver. All right, so let's say I wanted to insert this video, and you know what? I just want my students to watch the first, 20 seconds of this video. So what I will do is go into this, and this will pop up the format options for the video. So let's say I didn't want to end here. I wanted to end at 20 seconds. So it'll just play the first 20 seconds of that video. So in play on click, or you could have it play automatically when you join that slide, or just completely manually. So I click on it, it'll only play the first 20 seconds. So it will stop right after that, which is really nice. So let's say, oh, thank you, John Denver. Let's say that after this, oh, nope, I don't want you, sorry. Let's say that you wanted to show a clip from a movie, but the movie was an hour long and you just want to show your students the 10 minutes in the middle. This is the best place to put that 10 minutes. You don't get advertisements and you can clip it to whatever you'd like. So love it for that. Next. And I'm going to show you something helpful, actually going back to videos for a second. When we have an option for choose your own adventure, I don't just use it for choose your own adventure, I use it for differentiated learning. So let's say a student is not getting an answer right, and you have a video that can show the student why they got the answer wrong. That can be one of your choices in choose your own adventure. Here, number 5, use YouTube videos as timers. So for example, if you're someone who kind of, you know, if you want to stay on time for something, if you look up timers, there are all these cool timers you can insert into Google Slides that will keep you on track. So you got a 30-minute timer, a 5-minute timer. I love the 2-minute timers too. This has a big explosion at the end. It's just nice. You insert it as a video and it reminds you of like how to stay on track. I did this for myself when I was presenting at ACTFL last year. I just made it so that all of my slides had little timers so that at the 2-minute mark, I knew I had to go, because if not, I wouldn't have gotten through the whole presentation. So that can be super helpful. You can use the make a copy for each student function on Google Classroom to share if that's something that you use. It can also be used to collate materials, but this can be really helpful if you want every student to have a copy. So here's another thing I often do is have slides for students to submit work. So I'll create a slide for every student and then put different due dates. Like for example, the thing due, maybe I'll collect homework for 2 weeks or even a month in one Google slide deck. So every day they just submit their homework and I can go take a look at it. So that's really easy for me because then I can see their progress and whether or not they're submitting it. So that's really helpful. If you're going to make Google Slides with a text box where you want students to type, I know from the hard way, right? Insert text here or add text here, because if not, they'll say, oh, I'm going to add my own text box or something like that. So making sure they know where they're supposed to put that text and just making it as clear as possible. Trick number 9, you can link slides to other slides. So for example, if I wanted to link this, and I'm going to go to the link button up here, I want to link this to the next slide. What I would do is link to slides in this presentation. So I want to link it to the next slide. I just press next slide, and now it's a link. So when I click on that, it goes to the next slide automatically. It's very cool. That's how I create all my choose your own adventure fun. But again, I'll show you how to create it, but you don't have to create anything. I have templates so that you can kind of work on it and see how to do that. So I'll just take that off for now. Okay. And finally, to add something to all slides, go to View, then Master, and edit the first slide. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add my Twitter handle to every single slide in this presentation. What I would do is I would go up to the top to the text box here, and I would make a little text box for myself, and I would add my Twitter handle, Latin Tech Tools. And then that would go to every slide in the presentation. So now on every slide, my Twitter handle appears. Super easy. So that's fun. So you can change it for everything in the master slide, which is under View and Master. I think they're going to change the wording of that at some point, but right now this is what it is. So, okay. So getting out of here, going back to this. First off, we're going to do a little choose your own adventure. Who else loved these books as a kid? Oh my gosh, they were my total favorites. I would go get them from the library all the time. They're amazing. And so I really loved them, and I'm loving them now with my daughter. It's so much fun. And so you can actually make your own, choose your own adventure in Google Slides. And like I said, you can make it kind of a fun storytelling thing, or you can do it as, you can also do it for differentiation. So let's say you're asking your students to do something, and then you have 2 options. One is the right answer, one is the wrong answer, or you can even go crazy and put 4 options or something like that. When students click on the correct answer, they would go to the next slide. However, if they click on the incorrect answer, what I would do is have students watch a video or read an article or do some sort of activity to reinforce what they got wrong, and then have a link where they can go back to the slide where they got the question wrong so they can continue as usual. So that is definitely an option for doing choose your own adventure. Choose your own adventure takes a long time to make if you're making your own template. So I implore you, use my template because it takes a long time to make. It's not like hard to do, but it's just labor intensive. And so this is what I made for my students at Halloween. So I had a series of I wrote a little Halloween story for them, and then they had to decide what to do. So here, Doris knows that there's a haunted house. Should he buy it? And I liked the picture here. I often add pictures to choose your own adventure just to make it more interesting. I like how this house says it's for sale and it's not haunted. That's, something you really want to read when you're looking at houses. Not haunted. And so does he buy the house or doesn't he? So let's say he buys a house. Again, this is simply linking a slide to another slide in the deck. So what you would do is highlight the text, go up here, go to the link, and this is already linked to another slide within the slide deck. And so let's say, yes, he buys a house. It would take you to this one. He sees a ghost. What does he do? And so again, all of these choices. And so again, you go and you go and you go, and you come to endings. And I told my students, I kind of fibbed a little, that they were all happy endings. In this one, the ghost is happy because he destroys the house. In this one, the vampire's happy because he eats the dude. In this one, the robber's happy because he gets stuff. And in this one, the wolf's happy because he gets a good dinner. So in every case but one, the main character was killed. But I told them there were happy people at the end. And so you would set it up, and I give you a template for 18 slides. You can also do it this way with 13 slides. It just depends on how you want to do it. And again, adding pictures can be really fun. I had my students read this, not knowing the story at all, just reading the Latin. I kept it pretty simple, and they really enjoyed working through it. And they did it multiple times. I said they had to do it at least 4 or 5 times so they could read all of the different storylines. So that was super duper fun. Again, a little bit labor intensive if you're creating it yourself, but if you're using a template, all you really need is a story. So if you have a fun story to share, that's fun. Okay, so that's that. The next thing I want to talk about, and if you choose during the work time, you can make your own, choose your own adventure, and I will be here to help you. The next thing I want to talk about are manipulatives. A lot of my students really miss that kinesthetic experience of kind of handling things and moving things when they're doing online learning. So I've been doing a lot of online manipulatives, which is so interesting. My daughter's in 1st grade, and so she does manipulatives, which is kind of gave me the inspiration to do these. And my seniors in high school love it just as much as my freshmen and just as much as my 1st grader, because it just involves doing something a little more active than staring at your screen. So here are some different and I put Legos here because that's really what I think about it as, moving stuff around, really kind of making those connections by physically moving, even though you're online, really helps. So the first one I want to talk about is Caption Match. So here is a sample Caption Match. Okay, so this is what I did with my students. It's a Cambridge Latin course, Unit 16. And here I had students drag quotes to match the picture. And so what I'll do is I'll always have a title slide, a direction slide, which I think is super important. And I always try to keep it in a different font because I think it's that important to make sure that students see the directions. I also read the directions aloud for every single one because I think it's really important to make sure all the students understand what's going on. Then I usually either assign slides before class starts, or I have students pick their own slide. That way, even if I press the @ let's say I was going to assign this to someone using, at whatever, using the comment. So let's say I'm assigning this slide to Maureen. Hopefully she does it. There it goes. It's assigned to her, but not only is it assigned to her, she sees where her slide assignment is. So I won't hear Maureen's on my slide. No, you're on my slide. A little double reinforcement there never hurt. So both assigning it through that and through a slide assignment, separate slide, has been super helpful. And so for this particular activity, let me find one that wasn't done. Here we go. what I had students do was I used pictures from the textbook and I used quotes from the textbook that went with each picture. And students would have to drag the text to the picture it matched. So in this particular case, we have the king and his friends are eating dinner, and all of a sudden they put a big egg on the table. And so that's over here. Yes, this is one of the strangest stories in the entire textbook, where there's a person coming out of an egg. But then that's part of how it kept their attention. And so I would have them delete this and just put the text there. And they would do this for all of them. And you can't see the text initially, but if you scroll up and down on the slide, you can see where the text is. Now, these are not in a text box. These are actually screenshots of a scanned page from the textbook. The reason why is because it's so much easier to manipulate and move around a screenshot or a picture than it is a text box. Like I said, for text boxes, they often move. So I would recommend using pictures of text. Even if I were to do this in a Word document, I would probably take a screenshot before moving it around. I wouldn't put this in a text box. So I'd either take a screenshot or type it out in a shape, like I said before. So that's an example of that. And don't worry, there'll be templates of all of these. So let me just go back to here. So that's the caption match. Here's a, oh, sorry, question? Question? Oh.
I think maybe just an unmute situation. No big deal.
No worries at all. All right, so here is an example of cartoons. I love cartoons. I love having students either create their own cartoons or put captions on cartoons or have captions and need to put pictures on cartoons. And my go-to is always Google Drawing. So why am I doing this in a Google slide presentation? Well, what I've done for my students is I have them do it in Google Drawing, and then to collate materials. That's really one of the primary chief uses of slides I see. I have them take a screenshot of their Google Drawing and put it in here. Or what, and again, this is all such fun stuff to do in Google Drawing. Or what I can also do is have students use shapes and drawings and text boxes to make their own. And so when I provided the template for you, you have a link both to my Google Drawing template and to a template where I just embedded the Google Drawing cartoons, and you can just manipulate it in Google Slides. So either way works, and students like both ways. So both ways seem to work. Next, we have picture match, and I promise we'll be done this part very soon so you can get working. All right, so this was something I called God match. We were reading a novella, and I'm a Latin teacher, so it was about Greek gods and Roman gods. And so what students would have to do is they had to pull the pictures. Let me find one that wasn't really done. What they would do is they would, oh, I guess they're all really done. Oh no, this one didn't. So I put a bunch of pictures around here. And for example, Apollo is the god of music. So you would have to drag the musical note under Apollo. And again, you can probably think of a lot of different ways you can do this. He's also the god of the sun. So I'm going to put the sun over there. And Mercury is the god of thieves. So I'm going to put that over there. And I would probably do better contrast if I were to do this again. And lightning goes under Jupiter. And so just basically being able to drag the pictures to what they belong to. And while many of you may not be Latin teachers, I'm sure you can think of other uses for something like this, where you can drag things to the picture to something. Here is another one, sorting. So sorting, this was something I did with my Greek students. This is called, is it a river? Is it a city? Is it an island? And so I gave them a bunch of names in Greek as they were just learning to speak Greek. This is like second week of school. And they had to sort whether it was a river, a city, or an island and drag these shapes under the correct category. And they had a lot of fun doing this. And it was interesting to hear them talk about it because they were trying to pronounce the Greek because they didn't really understand a lot of it yet. So it was really fun to see them kind of work on that. So again, this is a great way to categorize things. And I have templates for this. You don't have to use the Greek version. Another one is brainstorming. So I do this in Jamboard a lot too, but I started out doing a lot of it in Google Slides. I only switched to Jamboard because my students seem to really like Jamboard too, but I also can use slides for the same thing. So this is something I did. Instead of having an essay, I had students with a partner look through these passages from Caesar and find 4 words or phrases that demonstrate Caesar's opinion. Like what is actually giving his opinion? And so they had to say both the quote from the Latin and describe what's going on here. How does Caesar show his opinion here? And so it was really cool. It was neat because they had just started reading kind of quote unquote real Latin, authentic Latin. And they were able to do this kind of essay type activity. And they didn't even know they were doing because they were having so much fun, like finding the quotes and talking about them. So it was very cool. But you could do that with anything really that you're thinking about for brainstorming. This is the last one. And oh my goodness, it's one of my favorites. This is called the quote game. Does anyone know this before I show you? Oh my goodness, this is so much fun. This is the same template I gave you. So feel free to just manipulate this however you want. Use whatever categories you want. You're probably more creative than I am, so feel free. And so here, using quotes from, in this case, the last two sections, whatever you want to use. Find groups of quotes for each of the situation in small groups. Then we vote on who has the best one, which is so much fun. And you can't repeat what another group says. And so best newspaper headline. And what you do is your group will write the quote. And then when you've written the quote on, you drag the shape onto here. So what I'll do is I'll just drag it on so that each one has this. Again, you have the template for this. And again, I'm not super creative. Oh no, come back. There we go. Newspaper headline, advertising slogan, refrain from a pop song, a note you wouldn't want to find, a tweet. And then I gave you a bunch of other things that I've done in my classes. Some of them may be more Latin oriented, like write on a gravestone, or I don't know, something you don't want to overhear. I don't know. You could probably find those in other languages as well. But I think this was super fun and something that my students were really engaged with and very competitive. They really wanted to find the right one. Okay, so that is that. Those are all of the different things I did for manipulatives. Again, underneath here are templates for everything. When you click on that link, it will ask you to make a copy. That way you can start working on it and adding whatever you want to it. So you can make a copy of choose your own adventure template, caption match, cartoon, picture match, sorting, brainstorming, the quote game, or one last one was the jumble. I'll just show you this really quickly. If you're going to do this template, it's going to ask me to make a copy. Yes, of course. There we go. And that's just so you can manipulate it on your own and you can save it to your own Google Drive. Because the worst is when you're working on something and then it's not saved to your Google Drive and you're like, oh no, where did it go? And so for this, you could either put things in order. So I might take different parts of a story and have students put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Or I might have students match target language to translation, just depending on what activity I wanted to do. Again, just showing how you can use different manipulatives. Okay, so for the rest of the time, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm here to answer your questions. Please pick something you want to work on, and I'm here to help.